Hello one and all, and welcome back to another episode of From the Cinema. I am your host, Josh Ridolph, and today I take a look at Zombieland Double Tap, the sequel to the hit 2009 comedy Zombieland. Tallahassee, played by Woody Harrelson, Columbus, played by Jesse Eisenberg, Wichita, played by Emma Stone, and Little Rock, played by Abigail Breslin. And this film takes around 10-ish years after the first one, and we once again see them traveling the country, just living together as a family, encountering new zombies and new friends along the way, and just trying to, survive and have a little fun here and there. Generally, compared to the first film, I think that a sequel for comedies can go either way. In this film, I found it to be generally fun, even though it took 10 years to make this film. Don't know why, but it's still a lot of fun. When it comes to the story of the film, it really doesn't do a whole lot new, per se. There's some new zombies introduced into the film, like ones that are really dumb, some that are really smart, and then some that are like stealthy like a ninja, and there's some that are just incredibly hard to kill like a Terminator, which is cool in concept, but the problem is that the film never really utilizes them that much. There's like instances of where there's some comedic moments with them, and then other instances where there's a bit of intensity with them, but overall they don't really add anything to the story. And similar to the first film, the zombies were just really the backdrop for like the setting and for the characters to interact off of one another. And again, they do that here, but the problem is that by introducing these new form of zombies, you kind of want the audience to get more engaged with the intensity of it or the comedy of it, but they never really utilize it. So it just becomes a big question of why introduce these new zombie types. It's a weird thing, but honestly, it still doesn't really detract that much from the film. Another point about the story is that it feels like not much has really happened in the past 10 years or so. We see them at the end of the first film, then we're in the beginning of this film, and it's just there really is no change between there. Woody Harrelson is still himself as always, which is always fun. Jesse Eisenberg and Emma Stone are together, but then they're separated because Emma Stone's character, she can't be committed, even though that was her whole thing in the first film. It's I feel after 10 years of being with him, I feel this shouldn't still be a problem. So it's weird. And then Little Rock, played by Abigail Breslin, she wants to leave the nest because she's grown up and everything like that. Goes off and finds a guy named Berkeley, who's played by Avin Jogia from Victorious. He's also really funny in this film. But again, it just feels like that character growth didn't really happen in between films and really during this film. One of the major things of the character growth that really irked me was Woody Harrelson's character from the first one. He had kind of a sad backstory that's revealed to us of him losing his son to the zombie apocalypse, and here he kind of has a fatherly bond with Little Rock. But the problem is that that's never really explored, and we never get to see the dramaticness of that whole storyline. So it's just there, and then it's there, and that's it. There's really nothing to it. It's there was a chance for there to be more dramatic weight to this film, but they never really took it. But that really it's not the biggest problem, for me at least, because of how much fun and how funny the film is, the problems of it, aren't really that big of a deal. Now, for, other sequels that, basically follow the same kind of thing, it would be a big problem, but here it's surprisingly not. Because of how fun and engaging and hilarious the film is, I don't really mind it. It's one that I could go back and rewatch over and over again, despite the problems that it has. Now, there are some new characters introduced in this film, like Madison, played by Zoe Deutsch, who she absolutely steals every single scene she is in. She is incredibly funny just because of how dumb her character is. How she survived this long is the biggest mystery to anyone, and it's just hilarious just seeing her go off and just be completely stupid. If you've seen her in anything else she's been in, she is fantastic, and here she is just fantastic again. She steals every scene that she's in, and it's great. You also have Luke Wilson and Thomas Middleditch, who are basically counter opposites to Columbus and Tallahassee. They're perfectly identical. Their personalities are exactly the same, and it's hilarious to see the two different versions of them go off of one another. It's great, and I love that part. Rosario Dawson is also in this film as Nevada, and she's fantastic because Rosario Dawson in anything is fantastic, and seeing her with Tallahassee was pretty funny and pretty good. I really enjoyed the new characters overall. Just were really fun additions to the film, and if there is a third one, I would love to see them back in this film again because they're just a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed them. The humor of the film also is once again fantastic. This film, like the first one, was written from the writers of Deadpool, and if you've seen those films, if you've seen Zombieland, they are really good at being funny, and this film is once again hilarious, and just the way the characters riff off of one another, the physical comedy jokes and other jokes of those kinds, they are fantastic. They're great. I absolutely loved it. If there is a third one, I hope that they write it because they are just comedic geniuses in my eyes, because Zombieland, Deadpool 1 and 2, they are great, and the humor of this film is easily the best part of this film. Action-wise, the film is basically on the same level as the first one. There's not really a huge amount of it. There is some, and it is fun to watch. There's really cool scenes of like where it's all done in one shot, and it was really impressive to see that. And that was a lot of fun. But overall, you don't really go into these kinds of films for action. You go into it for the comedy and for the characters. And like I said before, while the characters don't necessarily grow a whole lot, the humor is still there, and it's still incredibly fun to see these characters once again back interacting off of one another, riffing off of one another, and just having a really fun time. And honestly, that's the best thing I can say about this movie. It's a really fun time. While it may have problems with the story being almost kind of the same and not really doing a whole lot to advance it, and characters not really growing a whole lot, it's so much fun. Just overall, from the jokes to the action to the characters, it's one of the most fun films of the year, even though it's kind of the same film as the first, but again, it's surprisingly not bad because of that. Just because of the way the characters are, it's so much fun. If you have the chance, go see Zombieland Double Tap. You will have just a really fun time. I'm going to give Zombieland Double Tap a 7 out of 10. It's a very fun film, and if you're going to go see it before Halloween or on Halloween, that's cool too, because it's a fun zombie comedy, and there's really not a whole lot of them out there. Go see this, the first one, Shaun of the Dead, other zombie kind of comedies. They're just a really fun time. Make sure you follow me and Mason Cable Network on all our social media, so that way you can stay tuned for more episodes of From the Cinema. I have been Josh Rudolph, and I will see you all next time.